Hiya three. Okay, it is time to do our investigation to test the hardness of our rocks. I hope you've all managed to find at least 2 different types of stones or rocks, even if they're a different size or even just a slightly different colour. As long as they're different, then that's okay. So I'll just remind you of what I have. I have my iron ore right here. I have my limestone, I have my quartzite, and I have my big piece of slate right here. So you will need today, oh, and I've got my chalk as well. You will need a cloth, a damp cloth, and your scratching tools, fingernail, copper coin, and something hard like a needle or something, or a fork, or something like that. So let's just have a little recap of our investigation plan. So we have our variables. So the fact that we are changing is the rock, okay? And we're going to observe the scratches that we make in the rocks. Hopefully we'll be able to make some. We're going to keep this a fair test by applying the same pressure every single time on every single rock. And I think we'll probably do the same length scratch just once on each rock, because if we go over and over and over on some and not on the others, that wouldn't be fair. When I scratch the rock, we're going to see what happens to the surface, whether we can make an indent in the surface and how deep. The method, so I think what I will do is I will scratch one rock at a time with all of our scratching tools, and then I'm going to record it in my table and either put a tick or a cross to indicate whether we have managed to scratch the rock or not. And finally, yes, so we'll measure it in our table by looking at the scratches. And another really important thing which we will need to do is where the cloth comes in. I've given mine a good wash with my cloth, and we'll need to wipe the rocks after we've scratched it, because if we scratch it with our nail, it might actually look like it has been scratched, but in fact it might just be that part of the nail has come off onto the rock, so it isn't actually scratched. So if we just get a damp cloth and we can wipe it every time we've scratched it, then we can be a little bit more accurate. Okay, so I have got just a bit of a rough, I've drawn my table here. I know it's not the neatest, but I'm going to copy this up and you'll see it on my presentation in a bit. So the first one I am going to try is my iron ore. So first of all, I'm going to use my nail to try and scratch it. Okay, it looks like a little bit of my nail might come off there, so let me just wipe it. And actually it hasn't scratched it at all, so I'm going to put a cross, iron ore nail cross. Let's try our coin and see if we can scratch it. It might be a bit tricky because some of these rocks aren't very smooth, and they are already quite have got a lot of kind of textures in them, so it might be a little bit tricky. Now that I think that might have just scratched it slightly, but not very much, so I might just do a small tick actually in my iron ore, because we can just see a tiny scratch, but not very much. So I'm going to go ahead and use my my hardest tool. That is definitely, I can see, it might be quite hard to show you on the camera, but it has actually made quite a big, well, it's not a big one, but it has made an indent there. So I'll put my iron ore to the side and put a tick for my needle, a nice big tick, because that's definitely made a good scratch. Okay, next let's move on to the limestone. So I'll just remind you of my prediction. My prediction last week was that the quartz was going to be the hardest, and the chalk was going to be the softest. And I think most of you agreed with me as well, because we know that the chalk, we use it for drawing tools and it breaks off very easily because it's a sedimentary rock. So we will see shortly if we were correct or not. Now that limestone, I will do it first and try and get a nice clean bit. Scratching my nail. I don't even need to wipe that with a cloth because that has not made a mark at all. So I will put a cross on my limestone. Okay, well, I'll keep it a fair test. I'll wipe them all just like I did with the first one. I will next use my coin and see if that... It's quite hard to tell, actually. I don't think that has actually made a scratch. It looked like it did initially, but when I give it a wipe, I can't see a scratch there, so I'm going to put a cross for the coin. Final tool. I think that has, like, you can kind of just see the scratch here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it on there, but we'll wipe it away and see if it has worked. Yes, I can still see it very clearly. Our needle has made a scratch. Super. Right, I'm actually looking forward to this one the best, which is the chalk. So let's see if I'm able to scratch it with my nail. Now, I don't know if you heard that, but I did, and I could see the chalk actually coming off as I scratched it. So let's give it a wipe. And you can see, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but there is an indent there, which is quite obvious. So I have managed to, I think my prediction's going to be right, make a scratch with my nail. Let's try the other ones as well, keep it fair. So with the coin, yes, you can hear it again, it's made an even bigger scratch. I'll wipe it. Yep, and then I'll try my nail as well. You can hear that, and you can definitely see that one. Okay, even when I wipe it, you will probably still be able to see it. So, tick for the coin, tick for the needle. Okay, that was my chalk. Right, let's try the one that I thought was going to be the hardest, which is our quartzite. So, see, which area did I clean the most? This one, this part here. So, let me see if I can do it with my nail. Absolutely not. I have not managed to make any mark in there at all with my nail. So let me put a cross. Coin next. It has definitely not made any mark at all. Not even, because on the other ones you could kind of see a little bit of the surface looking as if it was being scratched, but that definitely has not scratched. Right, so let me try my needle now. And it looks like that has not made a scratch at all either. You probably won't really be able to see, but it's a very, very hard surface, so I'm going to put a cross for all of those. No scratches by the coin, needle or the nail. Okay, finally, my big piece of slate. Okay, I scratch it with my nail. I really don't think that has made a mark. I will check anyway. No, no mark there. So give that a cross. I'll try my coin next. Ooh. I'm not sure. That's actually, I'm going to do it one more time just in a different area to see. When I wipe it away, maybe a slight scratch, but not very much. Again, I might just put a small tick in that one. Finally, my needle. Oh yes, that has definitely made a scratch because I can still see it actually quite clearly. You might not be able to see it too well because I've just wet this down, but if I look now, that is actually really obvious that I've made a scratch there. Okay, so I will just show you my rough table. Okay, let's have a look together. So from this we can see that the only rock that was scratched by my fingernail was the chalk, so we were right with our prediction there. And the only one that wasn't scratched by the needle was actually the quartzite. So we know from these results that the quartzite is the hardest and the chalk is the softest. Now the other three, the limestone, scratched by the needle, yes, but not the other two. And the slate and the iron ore were definitely scratched by the needle as well, but only a little bit scratched by the coin. So our limestone is also quite a hard one, because that wasn't scratched at all by the copper coin. But these two were, sorry, I think I said needle, I mean copper coin, that these two were scratched by. So what I'm going to do now is write a conclusion, and I'll put this on the PowerPoint for you. So as we know, our hardest rock was the quartzite, and we know this because we couldn't actually make any scratch marks with any of our scratching tools. And from this reflecting on our prediction, we know that the quartzite is a metamorphic rock, and it's formed by interlinking minerals, and it's formed together very, very tightly by the process. So that's why we think it's as hard as it is. And the chalk was the softest. Again, this matched our prediction, because the chalk is a very kind of well, it's a very soft sedimentary rock, and it is used for drawing because it does just break away so easily. Okay, so what you'll need to do now is exactly the same as what I have with your stones. So record your results as you go in your table, like I did. Think about a prediction as well. What I'd like you to do first is actually write a little prediction. You can have a look at my example that I did last week, and you'll be able to do one now because you have your stones. Follow your method through, okay, just like I did. And then what you can do is you can put your rocks in order from hardest down to softest, just like Frederick Moe's hardness scale, okay? I hope it works okay for you. Just try your best. Don't worry if you don't have a big variety of rocks like I did. It's just very important that you are practicing working scientifically and doing an investigation and enjoying it. So good luck, and I can't wait to see your results.